In my last video, I have shown the build of this hand in a short time. If you haven't watched it, check that out first. Now it's time for a review and some more details about this build. To be clear, this isn't sponsored or anything. I just find it interesting and fascinating, and that's why I'd like to share it with you. What I really like about it is the fact that it's entirely made out of wood and toothpicks, and the mechanics actually work. The moving parts consist of a smart combination of high and low friction holes, and honestly, they work better than expected. You can move every single finger individually, and it mimics the movements of my hand surprisingly well. The thumb is moved by a rotating construction along with this long piece of wood, but like all the other fingers, it can only open and close. But honestly, anything more would be a bit much to ask from a $50 wood model. There are a few drawbacks though. You can see the motion is a bit sticky and not so smooth, and the retraction force on the fingers is quite low, so they get stuck sometimes. But I think it will grind itself in. A good feature in here is the adjustable position of the rings, so you can make it smaller or bigger depending on the size of your hand. You can also swap out the rings entirely to make them fit for bigger and smaller fingers. Unfortunately, the gripping force is a bit low, so you can't really pick up objects without the fear of breaking something. That's because in every joint, the weakest link is always a toothpick, and they are a pain in the ass to replace. I might swap them out for metal rods or something. All in all, I loved building this model, and I still play around with it. Also, by seeing and feeling its limits and restrictions, I once again realized what a complex mechanism the human hand is, and how difficult it is to build something even remotely similar. That's a good takeaway for me, as I'd really like to design something like that myself in the future. Speaking of which, you may ask yourself why I dedicate 2 videos to this project. After all, it's just a DIY puzzle for kids, right? Well, hear me out. I recently got my hands on some rather hard to find brass and copper cylinders that are pretty old but have mostly never been used before. They even have the original plastic wrap on them, which admittedly is a bit brittle and just falls apart. But now imagine these sitting in here in order to mobilize the hands and create a kinetic steampunk artwork. Wouldn't that be cool? I certainly think so, and if you'd like to see that too, I invite you to subscribe and stay tuned so you don't miss that video. It will take a while, as I'm still figuring out how exactly this could work, but I'll do my best to make it worth waiting. Until then, thanks for watching and stay curious.